From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. I'm Augusta McDonnell. Miller Robson has our forecast in just a few minutes. But first, let's get right to our top story. Yellowstone National Park's 153rd birthday on Saturday was celebrated a bit differently than usual. Many traveled to Gardner outside of the north entrance of the park to protest the National Park Service firings recently laid out by President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk. This done, of course, in an effort to downsize the federal workforce. Our Isabel Spartz has more.
Hundreds of people gathered here at America's oldest national park to protest the firings of probationary National Park Service employees. And they're just one group of many across Montana and the country making their voices heard. Yellowstone National Park's 153rd birthday on Saturday was celebrated a bit differently than in years prior. Many traveled to Gardner outside of the north entrance of the park to protest the National Park Service firings recently laid out by President Donald Trump and Elon Musk in an effort to downsize the federal workforce.
Our national parks are one of the great gifts of America, and they're under threat right now with the current Republican administration's funding cuts.
Fire, not fire!
At this time, it is uncertain what the total scope of effects could look like, but those in the surrounding area of the park are worried about its future.
This is not about saving money, it is about what we spend our money on. And I, as a citizen of America, would like to spend our tax dollars on the things that make America great. And in my mind, that is our national parks.
There were 3,400 Forest Service employees laid off. There are 3.2 million acres of Forest Service lands in the Custer-Gallatin district alone, and of them, only 5 people remain.
With those cuts, the Park Service will hire more seasonal employees instead.
Seasonal positions cannot replace permanent positions and the wealth of knowledge and experience and expertise those people have.
The display scene was just one of many in parks across the country on March 1st. But smaller communities are also speaking out in Montana.
Public lands not for sale!
On Friday, nearly 70 Red Lodge residents stood in Pride Park to voice the same concerns, saying the firings could also negatively impact tourism.
Of course, I'm concerned about people across the world, but it's in our town that it's going to affect us.
Just seeing restaurants hurt, businesses hurt, seeing less tourism here.
Kylie has been a public land servant for 6 years and is concerned for her colleagues that lost their jobs, 9 in Red Lodge and 32 in the Custer-Gallatin area, including Jillian Green, who lost hers on February 14th.
Most of us rely on federal housing as well. So come April, I was planning to move into federal housing for 6 months. So now I have to figure out where I'm going to live in the next month.
Green and Kylie worry for public safety, saying that planned upkeep of trails will not be done, and EMT help in putting out potential forest fires will be greatly slowed or even impossible.
Think about all these fires that are just prevented just from us being out there that aren't going to be prevented this year.
This week's protests could be just the beginning for public pushback against federal cuts.
And that's what makes our country great, is our public lands.
In Gardner, Isabel Spartz, MTN News.
We are into a brand new month, and let's see what the outlooks show for the month of March. Now, keep in mind these outlooks do change, but this is what the models are going with right now. For the most part, pretty seasonal temperatures expected across the state, the northeast and eastern parts of Montana, down into the northeast corner of Wyoming, maybe leaning a little warmer than average, and central and western parts of the state, maybe a better opportunity to see more of that moisture coming into play. Temperatures across the area, we've got 30s, 40s, and even some 50s as a cold front makes its way through, giving us a chance of some winter impacts. We'll detail that coming up.
In our leading look today, Billings police evacuated an entire downtown building due to a SWAT situation this morning. It all began about 7:30 at the Prairie Tower building on North 25th Street. All residents there packing outside due to the threat. Police said on a social media post that a person had barricaded themselves in a residence. The department's SWAT team and negotiators responded. The public asked to avoid the area all morning. Police said in an update that nearby residents could leave their homes for school and work. Check online for the latest on that story throughout today. And the Montana legislature is considering a bill that would make changes to how people transfer vehicle ownership in the state. House Bill 165 would remove the requirement for notary when transferring a vehicle title. The bill's sponsor, Republican Representative Ken Walsh, says the goal is to make the title transfer process easier for people, specifically those in Montana's many rural communities. Meanwhile, opponents argue the bill could pose some issues with fraud, especially for folks who are elderly. There are 45 states in the U.S. that currently do not require notaries. HB 165 passed the House and is now waiting on action from the Senate. And it's not unusual for U.S. attorneys to resign or be terminated with the arrival of a new presidential administration. And that was the case, as we've reported, for U.S. Attorney to Montana Jesse Laslovich, who was suddenly let go 2 weeks ago after being signed out of his work computer. In the wake of Laslovich's dismissal, Tim Roscoe now sits as the acting U.S. Attorney to Montana in an interim position. Tim is the son of Mark Roscoe, who previously served as Republican governor of Montana and chairman of the Republican National Committee under George W. Bush.
That statute just says that essentially the duties of the acting U.S. attorney fall to the person who occupies the role of first assistant U.S. attorney. And that right now happens to be me. So I become the acting U.S. attorney only until we get a new presidentially appointed and Senate confirmed U.S. attorney.
Roscoe adds that the length of time it takes to presidentially appoint a U.S. attorney can vary greatly, and he says he expects President Trump's selected nominees to be forwarded all at once. Trump's choice for Montana will then need to be vetted and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. 17-year-old Claire Mernon is working to combine the age-old traditions of ranching with the new age of social media. This is all in an attempt, she says, to educate and inform. MTN's Charlie Klepps has today's Montana Ag Report.
Out here near Pompey's Pillar, cell service can be hard to find, but that doesn't stop 17-year-old Claire Mernon from sharing what it's like to live as a teenage rancher through social media.
It's important to everybody's life, whether they know it or they don't.
The lifestyle can be unforgiving.
It's very muddy outside.
But regardless of challenges, agriculture's importance can't be overstated.
Without agriculture, we would not be able to survive.
Every decision and every choice we make, it has life and death consequences.
Known as the backbone of every country, its roots run deep in Montana.
We typically start our day by doing chores somewhere between 6:30 to 7 o'clock.
And that's especially true at the Mernon family ranch near Pompey's Pillar.
You know, those of us that do it, we don't take it lightly. It's a way of life.
A way of life that has survived generations and will always flourish. But now, in 2025, it's becoming more modernized. Thanks to Claire Mernon and her social media talents.
Why don't I post daily about agriculture and the lifestyle that so many of us live?
The Shepherd seniors started this Instagram page called 365 Days of Agriculture, doing just that.
At first, it was a little nerve-wracking to think that she was going to put herself out there, and what would she say?
The early fears and anxiety felt by Claire's mother Julie and herself quickly evaporated as the followers and interactions skyrocketed.
I definitely would have never expected that it would have grown to where it is today and how it keeps growing.
It's not just her telling her friends at school what she did over the weekend. You know, she's reaching a really big audience with it.
A message both Claire and her mom know is important. Advocating and educating people about the world's oldest trade.
I've realized that I do have an influence on people, and I am able to share my stories and the stories of others around me.
It's critical to bring agriculture to a lot of different people, and the fact that she's a girl too, that's, you know, pretty awesome and makes me proud as a mom.
Near Pompey's Pillar, Charlie Klepps, MTN News.